Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead with the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. And today I'm lucky to have fellow KW agent, actually works in the same market center as me, Dillar Schwartz. She is one of the top realtors in our market center. She's really into investing and she helps run the KW Wealth Group in our market center. Also runs the Dillar Group, which is an extremely successful group in our market center here too. Hey, Dillar, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Like I think before we got started here, we were talking like we've seen each other for years walking through the hallways. I think we did one deal. I was looking at my emails with you a couple days ago, and we did a condo deal a couple of years back, actually. But
Yes,
we haven't gotten the opportunity to talk as much as I would like. So it's fun to have you on here today.
perfect.
Can you tell our listeners really who you are and how you're involved with real estate in the Austin area?
Yeah, so my name's Dillar, like you said, and I have been active in the Austin real estate market at a higher level, I'd say really in the past like 4 years. Prior to that, I was more of an admin on a team. I was buying and assisting in flipping homes, and just really doing like seller walkthroughs and stuff like that with the team lead. And then I just really started to understand what real estate could do for my life at a higher level if I really just tucked my head down, and figured it out. Luckily, Keller Williams has so many models, or I guess not really so many models. They have one model that you plug into and you sort of add your flavor, your style to it. And once I like tucked my head down, I would say really in 2017, 2018, the path became really clear that this is what I was going to do. Um, and I also had this big moment of like, you've got to start taking risk. And so I would say that was like 2017, 2018.
That's awesome. So you were an admin on a team before that, actually?
I was, it's kind of funny in 2017, 2018, I was like, I think something that like $60,000 salary, like
Mhm.
scanning documents for people. But it was all in real estate. And, I think that was part of the risk is people who want to get in real estate need to be ready for a commission based job. Um, and I was having fun, and so when you're having fun and you're making what at the time felt like great money, it was the risk part of that I was like, I want to be like the agents on the team. And then when I dove into what the difference was, it was they were willing to make the risk. They were willing to go commission based and take bigger steps than I was.
Hmm. Yeah, and for everybody listening too, Diller does have her son with her. So if you hear some background noise, that's just
Oh yeah.
him doing what he does.
Yeah, life by design, right? Get to work at
Yeah,
home with them.
yeah, that's awesome. So you were on a team and you realized, hey, I might want more than the team is able to give me with the salary. But then
Hmm.
if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna need to take it all into my hands and take all the risk. And that's really what being an agent is.
Right. And it was interesting because I was in the support role of giving, coaching, mentorship, the sharpening the tools, as I would say, for the agents who were doing that. But I think it just became sort of this routine, I had a really great life. I wasn't missing a lot of things. And then when you surround yourself with people who are thinking bigger and who pull that out of you, the light at the end of the tunnel looks different.
Hmm. Cool. So you said I'm going to go from an admin to a sales agent, which is purely commission. Where does real estate investing come into your life?
Um, I realized that I didn't want all my eggs in one basket per se,
Hmm.
right? And to be honest, there's a side of real estate, like I guess being a realtor, that's not sexy. HGT doesn't, HDTV fails to show you some of the day-to-day lifestyle or day-to-day activities of the quote unquote like a realtor, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, actually it started in other areas. I got involved of what did being a realtor really mean. There's a lot of stuff with being active with law and Texas legislature and national stuff, advocacy for homeowners. And so I sort of started dipping into that bucket. And then Patrick Birdsong was flipping a house and was like, hey, stop doing this for everyone else. Come do it with me. And so that was my first partnership.
Oh,
I
cool.
made $4,000. I had an incredible mentor. And that was part of the risk, the reward, and then learning hard money in partnerships, right? And so then I was like, okay, so this is basket number 3. I've got just typical buying and selling houses with clients, dipping into some advocacy and some coaching for real estate, and then now I'm going to add flipping. And so through that process, I started learning, and then I started teaching in class of like, you need multiple streams of income. And so flipping became at the time that third stream of income.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you started flipping houses first.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still do any flipping yourself?
Yes, I actually just closed. I literally on a Saturday I closed. So this past Saturday I closed on a home in North Austin. And to be honest and transparent, that was a deal that sort of went sideways, which it probably is going to work out for the best. But I was a partner with someone. I was a silent partner, and they could not carry out the deal. So I was actually able to refinance through a construction loan, and I absorbed the property. And then in 2020, what are we in 2023? So in 2022, I think I did 5 flips between my wife and I, and then my business partner and I. And then my wife and I did like a burr-ish. We bought a property that had 7 units that needed to be flipped, but we're holding them. So
Oh, cool. So like was it a 7-unit apartment complex that needed fixed up, or what kind of layout was that?
this podcast may not be long enough for me to explain it, but so it was 7 acres, and
Mm-hmm.
it has 3 cabins. It has a main house that was a 4-bed, 3-bath,
Mm-hmm.
a guest house that's a 2-bed, 1-bath, and RV hookups. So we are now doing, we're basically rounding the corner. We've got some plumbing work, I guess, tomorrow, and then we're kind of finished. We have a little bit of furniture to deliver, but our dream is to make it an event space for people who want to go out and have more of just a relaxed style, to bring their team, to bring their family, yoga retreats, health retreats, speaking events. And then when it's not being used for an event, we're doing Airbnb nightly rentals.
Oh, cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Um, is that outside Austin somewhere?
it is in the heart. Well, I say the heart because I feel like it, but like right in Wimberley, right next to a brewery. Um, so yeah, I mean outside of Austin, but it's in Wimberley, which destination spot for us.
Yeah, no, that's a cool, really cool small town. For anybody that hasn't been to Wimberley, it's really just south of Austin, and it feels like you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it's lots of
Oh,
cool stuff.
sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. So you got into real estate investing just saying, hey, I need some other income, which I think is a really smart observation, especially as an agent. Like you mentioned earlier, we're all commission. We don't get paid until the sale is done.
Right.
So you need some sort of steady income there if you're going to have a good life as an agent, unless you're just working 24/7 and always getting deals done. And it's what you want to do, of course, but it makes it a lot easier when you've got that steady eddy income coming in from, let's say, short-term rentals or flips or any sort of other stream of income. I know they say what most millionaires have 7 streams of income or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
And I think you also have more like sometimes I think we look at, well, how much money are you going to make on this specific deal?
mhm,
And to me, that's thinking small, because at the end of the day, in this stream and in all the streams mixed together, I simply have more control than anyone else does,
mhm,
than the person who's not doing this, right? So yeah, I might not make the biggest return tomorrow on this flip, but where the money that I have invested in the project, I have control over where it is, I have control over what it's doing, and it's the best decision for that bucket of money, if you will, at the time.
mhm.
And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make on analyzing deals and looking at deals or getting into flipping is, well, I'm not going to make buckets of money. And it's like, you might not, but is that the best place for your money? Think of it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's, as a commission salesperson too, what are you going to do to grow your wealth and to grow passive income at the same time? And does that help achieve those goals? If it does, that's awesome.
Right.
Cool. So I know you have a group in KW, and I've watched you grow that a little bit. And you also help run what's called a KW Wealth Club in Austin in our market center. What is the goal of what you're doing in our market center with helping agents learn about investing?
So the goal of our wealth community slash chats is it's sort of a smaller spin-off of what Keller Williams is offering on a larger level, but I truly believe your goals and your accomplishments are going to be supported by those that you surround yourself with. And so
Mhm.
what we've done was myself and Greg Tran, who's another incredible investor in Austin, um, we were taking some classes. And so we said, well, why don't we bring this back and pull the people that we know would like to know more, or maybe we could learn something from them, and just start having weekly meetings or I'm sorry, monthly meetings. And then through that, maybe start learning, who we can partner with, who are strategic partners, or even someone who just knows more than we know about where do we invest, right? And then also just creating other opportunities, structuring deals together. I think I just said that. And then really just the amount of information that we're sharing. Like I know like next month, all we're going to do is analyze a bunch of deals, and it's kind of nerdy, but like I would love to see how other people learn deals or
Mhm.
analyze deals, or, hey, how come that worked for me and not for you? Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe they're doing something wrong. Or, like I just said, it's simply like this deal works for me because of the amount of money and the way that my portfolio works. And we want to share that at the end of the day, right? Like we had this incredible dude. He's 18. He just graduated high school. In the front row, has his real estate license, and that kid asked like the best questions out there, and he wants to be a developer. So also bringing people into our lives like that,
Mhm.
and giving them. I mean, at 18, I didn't have the opportunity to have this.
That's amazing. Yeah, I didn't start
So
investing until I was 27, so almost 10 years later than him.
yeah, and I'm like 10 years later than like 20 years later than you. Yeah, I think I really got into this at like 35. And I'd owned houses before, but I think there's a difference, which I really hope people understand, to owning one or two properties, maybe you're cash flowing. There's a difference in that, and then actually understanding what is your money doing.
Mhm. And I really like what you just said, a couple just in that was, what does this investment do for you? So what might be a great investment for you might not be a great investment for me at this certain time in my life. And I've just gotten hyper focused on that recently for myself, of like, hey, what are my goals right now? If my goals are that I want as much passive income as I can, I'm looking at different deals than if my goals are to build my wealth as much as I can, or if my goals are just to get started. I know when I got started real estate investing, like one of my first goals was to get a certain amount of debt. It was like, hey, because I have a certain amount of debt, that means that I have a certain number of properties, or that much property debt, real estate debt. And if I have that much real estate debt over a certain amount of time, that's going to pay itself off and I'm going to be in a certain spot. But right now, I'm not looking at things that way at all anymore. For me, right now, it's how do I get as much passive income as I can, so I can be in a great position to be financially free. But, you know, 5 years ago, that was one of my goals. So I think it is so important. Everybody says, what's the best investment? And it's like, there isn't. It's what's
There's
best
no
for
best
you.
investment.
Yeah, it's what works best for you at this certain time in your life. Like for me, in 5 years, it's going to be different than what it is today. And it's so cool to talk to other people and hear different perspectives. And that's what absolutely always helps me figure out what's best for me. If I talk to 5 different people and I hear about what they're doing, I'm like, well, what he's doing has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. And what she's doing, that aligns really quickly. And she's doing exactly what I want to do and getting there faster than I am. So maybe I should do that.
Yeah, I started the same way. I said, all right, how I gave myself like 8 or 9 months. I can't exactly remember. Well, at first it was funny. My first like somewhere along the lines I wrote like I think it was 2017, I wanted to own 5 investment properties within the next 5 years. And I had zero framework around it. It just was like,
Mhm.
oh, 5 properties. And that sounded like a lot, which was also interesting because I was already on my third house, just like my primary residence.
Mm.
And I didn't kind of like think about, well, how did I already buy three, sort of, and what would have happened if I would have saved those houses, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
And then I got my first 2 rent houses. And then once I don't like once I got like clarity, I hit the 5 and then I was like, well, that was easy. And it was like 2.5 years later. And then I was like, well, what do I want to do with this? And so one of my mentors, he was like, well, what's your passive income? And I was like, I don't actually know, but I've got 5 houses or I've got 3 houses, whatever it was at the time. And so then I started focusing on passive income and what that could do to me for me. Surpassed that goal within about 2 years because all I really needed to do was like move some puzzle pieces around.
Mhm.
But then this property in Wimberley came up, which was interesting because it ruined my financial cash flow. And like, I kind of like mindset wise, I was really thrown off because I'd met this group of women and collectively last year in July, I'm sorry, in 2021 in July, we had all sat around a table and I think there were 12 of us and collectively we owned 47 homes. And then I actually didn't own, I was like number 4 on the list and that pissed me off. And then they said, well, whose net worth is X amount? And I didn't get to stand up and they were like, how are you not standing? And I was like, why? I don't know what my net worth is, like I'm assuming I'm okay. I'm 38 years old, whatever, and I've got 5 or 6 homes and blah, blah, blah. So that motivated me. So then I started tracking my net worth. Well, here comes the Wimberley property. It was a little over $1 million. And I was like, I don't see myself owning $1 million property that needs every single square inch of it fixed.
Mhm.
However, that one purchase threw me into my net worth goals.
Nice.
It killed my cash flow goals, but because of
Mhm.
the cash flow, I was able to buy this. And then now, basically, my net worth and everything else fell into an alignment. But it was interesting because when I went back and I was like, how come that deal, the most expensive deal I've purchased and the hardest deal I purchased was the easiest one for me, was because I knew my risk factor. I knew my numbers. I knew I had a very clear vision of my goal. And I knew the framework around any deal I wanted to buy that was particular to me.
Mhm.
And I was looking at it for another investor.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So,
So I was like, oh, this doesn't work for him, but you know what? It damn sure works for me because I was so clear on at this point, I wasn't really looking for anything else that cash flowed because I was about to start having to figure out some new tax strategies. This actually, I was able to sell a property 1031, buy this one, and then I'm doing seller financing with it.
oh wow, so super creative strategy there. And it sounds like you said, and I can relate to this, I'm going to take a step back on a certain goal, which in this case might have been the passive income goal, but I'm going to take a huge step forward on the net worth goal. And I think sometimes you have to do that. You can't always get everything. I know you talk to a lot of newer investors and you say, hey, what do you want? They say, I want it all. I want cash flow. I want appreciation. I want no risk. And you're like, yeah, it's hard to do, but you can
Yeah.
absolutely get one.
Well, and on that too, I think I talked to a lot of investors, especially like they find you online and stuff. And what they don't realize is I think having a spreadsheet of some framework around the deal is really great. However, if you're calling me from, let's just say New York,
Mhm.
and you're calling me to invest in Austin, we're going to have to adjust your numbers because we have different property taxes. Our HOAs are vastly different from New York. We don't have these big building managers and stuff like that. Our tenant rights are very different. And that's one of the things like I want to relay to a lot of the people that I work with. First of all, have your basic framework of what you want your money to do. Are you looking for cash flow? Are you looking to grow your net worth? Are you looking for a tax strategy? But second, partner with someone locally who really understands a little bit more than how to open a front door for you and set you up on the MLS search.
Mhm.
And that's really important to sit down and actually become like a real estate planner versus just a real estate agent because
Mhm.
those things every time you cross sometimes even counties, you go from here Austin to San Marcos and you've got what, like 2.5% tax in some areas and 1.2, like, or
Mhm.
1.7, whatever it is. I mean, that alone can make or break a deal for someone. And then you have the demographic and what are the properties used for, which I think a lot of people don't understand. That's different in all of these areas. And so to learn from that too, I mean, I bought houses out of state. How am I going to learn how to do this? You got to go do it yourself. So I do own two properties in Arkansas.
Oh, cool. And I like what you said there too, that essentially the use or the successful strategy changes per area. Like running a short-term rental in anywhere in Austin is fairly difficult. But you might be able to run a great rent by the room house, whereas running a short-term rental out in the hill country might be the best use of the property. And it's not as simple as, hey, this is what I want to do, here's where I'm going to do it. It's sort of, you got to figure out what are your goals, where do you think you can achieve those goals, and what's the best way to achieve those goals in that area.
Right.
And that really is how you figure out what you're going to do.
And always have a backup plan. For each of our properties, I think we could go maybe three or four other options. So, like
Mm,
in Arkansas, they're best suited right now for 8 people rentals, nightly situations.
mhm,
However, during race season, I could probably reorganize and say, all right, I could rent to these guys that come in town for the races for 3 or 6 months. Or I could actually section the houses off and have multifamily, or I could then just put long term renters in there. And at the end of the day, all of these strategies would work. Some of them I'm going to cash flow a little bit more.
mhm.
However, at the end of the day, I have more than one option with this property. Or if the county changes the rules for short term rentals, in Arkansas, the rules are vastly different than here in Texas.
Mhm.
And they're very quick to change because the city's a lot smaller. So you have one or two people who go down there and get the mic at City Hall. Your whole investment plan can change. Where like in Austin, we've got a local government that it's really hard to get anything changed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've got two properties in Arkansas that literally, I mean, it could take one city hall meeting to really get something going.
Mhm.
And so understanding that, right, and having a backup plan in Wimberley, yes, we're sort of shooting for event space and Airbnb. However, I could actually rent all of the cabins out as small apartments. I could rent the main house out, or I could keep it as my second home, and then I could rent the guest house out, and then we have the RV spots. So we could have long-term renters out there as well. Um, and then my properties here in Austin, just because of the local governing body that does not love short-term rental. I just did all long-term rental, and what helps there is anytime somebody's asking me for my finances, I've got 5 solid streams of income from or 4 from these long-term holds.
Mhm.
Um, and then, once you get to a certain level, my next plan right now, the biggest thing I'm working on with money is what are my next tax strategies? Like,
Mm.
at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't care about my net worth. I don't care about my passive income, sort of, like it's kind of on the back burner. It's what are my tax strategies for my money? Because those have changed. I would say in the past 9 months, financially or on paper, however you want to say it, like I've changed.
Mhm.
I mean, a big thing too is I have a kid now. Like
Yeah.
all of these things are going to change. And so, within the framework, I think some people start rolling. And then it's like, whoa, what is your structure? What do you have LLCs? Do you have S corps? Like, how are you protected? And are you going back and looking at your tax strategies?
Yeah. And if you've got kids, do you have a trust? And I think I really like the tax strategies for us as realtors and anybody that is considered a real estate professional. They're just enormous. Like, you can use so many tools. Depreciation can wipe out almost all of your taxable income when you've got rental properties. So there's just a great way to use rental properties to make tax season a fun time for us real estate investors.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
knowing who can understand your portfolio from like a 30,000 foot view. A
Mhm.
lot of financial advisors aren't actually that experienced with what we're doing. They're like, wait,
Mhm.
what? You're flipping, you're holding, you're doing some short term thing, you've got an LLC over here. So I think there's a part in your business and when you're looking at your money that your key players and your key vendors really become a part of your team. And as an
Mhm.
investor, you're not doing this alone. You
Yeah.
need to have a great CPA, a great tax guy. I think financial advisors, some agents say yes, some say no. I'm going to say, yeah, pull one in. Um, I'm going to stay in my lane. What I know is houses, and I'm going to have a
Mhm.
team that knows everything else.
Absolutely. A great team is so important. So, Diller, it sounds like you've done just a whole lot of different things. Um, I like to give our audience something actionable that they can say, "Hey, I'm going to avoid doing this," or here's how I can do better. Is there a biggest mistake that you've made in real estate investing you want to share with everybody?
I think the biggest mistake, I mean, other than I wish I would have started a little bit earlier, is over analyzing. Move a little bit quicker. You don't have to do this alone, sort of situation. Because I wish I would have moved quicker. I wish I would have analyzed a little bit faster on some deals that I really just got into, like, what is it, analysis paralysis.
Hmm.
And realized too that, like, not everything has to be this like $100,000 deal. I don't have to make so much money off of every single thing, because along the way, I'm building a foundation. I'm also learning things. And that's what I would say. Like, start a little bit quicker, analyze a little bit faster. And if you're if you're not a realtor, like, trust trust your real estate agent too. I mean, I had to trust my real estate agent in another state. I used a realtor. I called, I interviewed, well, two, five of them, four of them didn't answer the phone. So, I went through an entire interview process. I mean, I paid the commission and all of that stuff. I didn't let my ego of being a realtor get in the way. So I think that's what I would say. Like, analyze. I wish I would have started earlier. I think I was under the understanding like I just needed so much money.
Yeah.
Trying to save $100 on a mortgage payment when I was like, wait, that was only $1,200 that whole year, but I could have made something else. Um, yeah, I wish that I would have had different thoughts around that.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think it's so easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis because you really just don't want to do anything wrong. You want to make a mistake. And when you've got a good realtor on your side too, they're watching your back. They're making sure that you don't make any mistakes and they're putting the right contingencies in the contract. So you've got a little bit more time to figure it out and make sure that it is the right investment for you.
Right.
Yeah. And then of
Yeah, because
course,
that whole analysis thing just wastes time.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when the market was incredible, like, let's just say February 2022, I wish I would have pulled the trigger on a few more deals, even though it was perceived that I was paying like way over market value at the time. But there were a few deals when I go back that I was just like, I just was in over analyzing it, and I should have pulled the deal. I should have picked up those deals. I'm sorry, I should have pulled the trigger and I should have picked up those deals. Um, but you can't go back. But that analysis paralysis is wasting your time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody's always going to look back and see the deals they missed. But I love your advice of just get started as early as you can. There's never a wrong time or a right time, but whenever you've got is the best time.
Right.
Awesome. Um, so if you had to start over today, knowing everything you know now, is there anything you do differently as far as portfolio formation or what you started with or anything along those lines?
Um, if I had to start over differently, I think I would want to change my perception of money earlier. Because I started thinking money was something you had or you didn't have. And if you had it, you were, like, I guess, rich. Instead of, money's just a thing, it's an energy. And what are you going to do with it? Whether you
Mhm.
have $5 or $100, right? I mean, if we had $5, each of us right now, we would probably both do something different with it. And
Mhm.
that's all that it is. And I
Cool.
wish I would have listened a little bit more to the financial advisors and like the old dudes in my life that are really smart, and just stopped looking at it as, did I have it or not? It was whatever I had, what was I going to do with it?
Hmm. So basically, you would have gone from having a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset a lot earlier on.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's so important. Mindset is everything, really. I mean, it's how you look at things. Like you said, $5 could either be a tool or it could be something to go spend on something else.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. So, Diller, what's next for you? What are your long-term goals and what's your vision for real estate investing for yourself?
Next up is paying down everything that we purchased over the past 2 years. Sort of creating a little bit stronger foundation with what we do have. Going back, we're going to move a bunch of our properties into a series LLC and create a stronger foundation, really, tax wise. Like I said, I have a kid now, so figuring out trust. Um, Instead of like continuously adding on and making this to where it becomes a real, just like a massive puzzle that we have to figure out. I think we're at a great point right now to go back and figure it all out and make sure it's like bulletproof. So tax strategies, entities, and then paying down some of the mortgages that we have. That's what I'm going to focus on right now for 2023. And then
Okay,
growing my real estate team. I'm going to focus on agent count on that side of the business.
cool. How many agents do you have on the team right now?
6.
6? Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Right. And we're spread out across. So we don't have, all of us are not located in Austin. I did a little differently with hiring someone in San Marcos, someone in New Braunfels, someone in Wimberley,
Hmm.
downtown, and then I've got one out in Hutto. So we can do a better job of covering Central Texas versus like all trying to, sell in downtown.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. You got the coverage there with that big of an area. That's a huge area too.
Right.
Do you have a favorite business or mindset book that you like to recommend, Diller?
Typically, it's the one that no one else is posting about, because I feel like we fall into, well, everyone else is reading that, so let's just go read it. So try to ask at the time stuff that is very specific to me. But I just finished Lifestyle Investor, which
Mm,
that one was really great.
great book.
And I feel like Set for Life is a really good one to sort of like bring it all home and to just get down to the basics of money.
Hmm.
I like for all of my new agents to read that. It talks about how much money you're saving just by driving to work or not, or trying to save $100 living outside of the city because rent's a little bit lower, but then you've got to drive back and forth to work every day. Those are just some like really basic principles that I think are good to be refreshed on. And I'm really enjoying Lifestyle Investor right now.
That's an amazing book. Justin Donald's a really smart guy.
Yeah, so I got to take the class on the book with him teaching it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great book for anybody that hasn't checked it out. It's a fun read. It's fairly quick. And it's just a great book. Um, Diller, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, to reach out to you or follow you?
Yeah, so luckily I don't know that there's many Dillars out there. So you can typically just Google Dillar in Austin, Texas. And so it's really easy to find me through Facebook or Instagram. That's probably the best way, or just go to our website, thedillargroup.com, and it'll go right to me. So
Cool. And what is your Instagram handle too, Diller?
it's Dillar underscore ATX Realtor.
Okay.
I believe, because you can change them sometimes, or we have one that's just the Dillar Group underscore Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to
Cool.
get better on remembering all of these social media handles. I'm an old lady.
Yeah. I don't think so. We'll absolutely have that in the show notes for everybody too. All
Yeah.
right, Diller. Most important question we ask here on the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. What is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
This whole time I've been like sweating, like he's gonna ask me that, and I don't know. Sorry. I think anything new and unique. Like I just went to. I'm so sorry. Oteka, the sushi restaurant on Congress. I think I'm butchering the name.
Okay.
But they do like a 24 course tasting. That's
Oh, wow.
amazing. You have to make reservations.
like a
And they
year in
have a
advance?
no, not that far. They also have a little whiskey bar that's like right outside. Um, but I kind of think, I can't say I've been to many restaurants twice. We're in
Oh,
Austin,
yeah.
like, um, I know I'm like literally like, oh God, he asked a question, I have to answer it. So sorry, but I think it's like anywhere that's new and anywhere that has really good whiskey.
Okay. Cool. And we'll put Oteca in the show notes too, just so everybody's got that to go see.
I know, and I feel bad because I think I butchered it, but it's at the South Congress Hotel. It's a sushi place. It is so good. I was trying to look it up real quick, but I
Okay.
think everybody should go experience that.
Yeah. Yeah, those multi-course sushi meals are really interesting. It's not like the what people are used to, just getting a ton of sushi at once, but you get a little taste of amazing sushi. And it's always a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's stuff you're not going to do it all the time, right? It's not like your favorite enchiladas that you go and you just eat those every single time. It's like this is an experience.
Yeah. It's a great experience, that kind of stuff. I've not done Oteca. I'll have to try it out, but I've done other sushi courses like that. Awesome. So everybody follow Dillar on Instagram at Dillar_ATX Realtor, and we'll make sure to have that in the show notes. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Jordan_Moorhead. And of course, you can find Dillar at the Dillar Group Texas on Instagram, or you can find us at the Moorhead team also on Instagram. Dillar, it's been great having you on here. I really enjoyed getting to have this conversation. Although we work probably a couple 100 feet away from each other, I think this is the longest conversation we've ever had. We're gonna have to
It
change
is.
that.
Yeah, we even did a deal together and talked more
Yeah. Yeah.
here. All
Well,
right. Well,
cool.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. And of course, I'll see you around the office here.
All right. Thank you.